Broll Property Group CEO Nkuli Bogopa joins me now to discuss the impact of the lockdown restrictions and may have on the property sector. Very good evening to you. Tell us what you have seen in the past and what your response is to the President's speech tonight.
Good evening, Jane, and thank you for having me. Good evening to all the listeners. I think a few improvements that have come through from the President's speech tonight is that we will see the opening of restaurants, even though there will be limited trade with the number of people restricted. I think since the last President's speech, what we are also seeing with the lockdown adjustment is that we are having a registration for the younger age group to be able to register for vaccination. So I think that's been quite positive that we've picked up from today. And I think the other improvement was around the UIF and the TERS support that will be given to businesses. But overall, what we had observed with the lockdowns, as can be expected, is that when we went into the lockdown level 4, it definitely did reduce our foot count and foot traffic to the shopping centers. And we saw that there was still an increase, though, in terms of the basket size when people buy, because people are going to the mall with an intention. You know, they're not just going there to roam around. And from our side as managing agents, we've gone through great lengths to make sure that we keep up with COVID protocols and other regulations, and that will continue to be heightened over the foreseeable future with the pandemic over us.
But I should imagine you must have been impacted by the number of shops, retailers that had to close down. And many businesses have been transformed, haven't they, by realizing that they can do a lot of their work at home and they can downscale the size of those offices.
Definitely. I think the property sector has seen a greater suffering on the part of office usage. That has definitely gone down. I think that the levels of lockdown plus the different waves of the variant of the COVID has just made it worse for the office sector, which was already an ailing sector before we even went into the pandemic. I think that our retailers right now are greatly concerned, of course, about the events of this weekend and what you've been touching on tonight with the previous speakers. We continue to ensure that safety and security will be, something of a greater priority for our consumers, especially as we go into tomorrow. And we implore our law enforcement services to be a little bit more proactive, because these are the very same centers that service our people, that are bringing services closer to the people, some of which offer vaccination services for this big pandemic that we are faced with. So we implore on our people to also recognize that these are the same services that are meant for their own good.
Because that sort of destruction that we saw when we were talking to our correspondent a little bit earlier in KZN, I mean, obviously that'll impact people being able to pay their bills, being able to pay their rent. You also say that office sector is really struggling. What's going to happen to those empty offices now? And are good plans in place for people who are not able to pay their rent? Have you worked out a better formula that suits everybody?
I think most landlords definitely have. This was done with landlords coming together under the South African Property Owners Association and being proactive around giving discounts to the tenants. And these were done with long-term planning in place. So that has provided some relief for our tenants, both in the office segment as well as in the retail segment. What we are seeing as a developing trend is the conversion of office spaces into residential. And I think that trend we can continue to look forward to, because there was already an oversaturation of office spaces, especially in and around Johannesburg, if you come closer to the Sandton and Rosebank hub.
All right, interesting talking to you, Nkuli. Very appreciative of your time. Thank you.